so nervous since this morning. Yesterday I wasn't nervous, today I feel nervous. How do you...
I don't know what to expect, صراحة. It's the first time I've to shoot a podcast, so feelings are, I would say, unknown. I'm scared, anxious, excited. It's a bit of everything, but I think that's a good way to go about it.
Our pillars is authenticity, and speaking like this and connecting with the community and sharing more about the humans behind AMUSED is, you can't get more authentic than that, right? What do you think?
Yeah, I was going to say it's good to know who's behind the brand. What's their thoughts, what's their...
Who are they? What's their
vision,
values?
the strategy, their values as well, and who they are as a person, because at the end of the day, as humans, we relate to humans. So
that's true.
It's really important to put a face to the brand and just understand how it is.
And we love podcasts, don't we? We consume so much of it ourselves,
definitely,
right?
Definitely, yeah.
Because you want to learn from interesting people who are doing interesting things.
As I said, people relate to other people, and as humans, we tend to compare ourselves to other people, whether it's a good way or a bad way. So just for people to know who is behind AMUSED, how they can relate to them, I think that might reflect on the success of the company. And at the end of the day, this business has started, originated from a need that we had, and then we saw the opportunity. So it's very good for people to hear from us our story.
Yeah, definitely. And as we always get told, humans buy from humans. So, you know, humanizing this whole e-commerce online business.
After Sarah moved here and we got married, and she was getting through her things that she didn't want, and then she asked me, I remember that day pretty well, you know, sitting in the living room. And then she's like, what do you guys do with these, you know, unwanted items? And the answers I gave her, honestly, that facial expression I got that day was hilarious. But from there, you know, as two ambitious, I would say, individuals, entrepreneurs, and we just honestly saw it as an opportunity. You know, we like fashion overall, and just from there we started to realize, okay, you know, the what if questions came to mind. What if there is a need? What if we can offer this? What if, you know, something the market is hungry for? And we just decided to, you know, jump on this opportunity, and here we are.
So for me, it was exactly after we got married and I moved here, I had another business that I was focused on, and AMUSED was just like a side hustle that happened. It was just a place where I was listing my own items that I didn't need. And I think like these concepts have always existed everywhere we've lived, right? Like London and Dubai, there is a huge culture around like pre-owned and second-hand, vintage, whatever you want to call it. And I realized I really wanted to connect with people, create like a community of like-minded individuals and change the way that people saw their things. Sustainability element was always really important, and I know that you didn't feel like you're someone who is necessarily sustainable. You really practice it so much, Mansour, in like so many areas and things that you do. It was just like innate in you, and I wanted to bring that culture here more and kind of change the way that people were doing things. And I love buying vintage and pre-loved. It's such a treasure hunt, and I wanted to share that experience with, I guess, other people here. There were no options, and the ones that did exist in other countries close by, they kind of lacked the joy, and I felt that we could offer a better experience just because we are consumers of it and we know what we like. Like I was watching this video from Rick Rubin, and he was like talking about how you should build something that you want, how like it should be about what you like and what you would consume, because others will just follow that, you know.
But it contradicts what people usually say, that
Yeah,
you're following what the customer wants.
Yeah.
So I feel you just need to hold the stick from the middle. It's not necessarily this or
Yeah.
that, but not every, okay, I don't want to generalize, but I said most of the successful businesses originated from a need.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's where you put your heart and soul in it, and then I would say you start listening to the customers and tailor it for them, and this is how you grow it. But the starting point, you need to have that need.
Exactly. And I think maybe where he was coming from was more from the perspective of like, if you do it based on what you love, that passion and that fire will always be there to like continue to make it better and follow it, right? So I think that's maybe where that statement was coming from. But yeah, well, I think we're just obsessed, right? I think as founders, we became obsessed with this like process of like getting better as individuals and as human. And I think as a founder, that's what you become obsessed with, the journey, and you become really addicted to that growth that you feel. And I think it reflects in the results you have as a business as well. And I think that's why entrepreneurship is a really difficult journey, because of the accountability that you have. It's all about you as an individual. Culturally, the concept and the audience is different than other countries, right, where this concept has existed and thriving. But people are the same because people's needs are similar, right? There are different kinds of classes. A lot of my friends and family, from the UK think that we live in like a castle, or like that everyone is just super wealthy here, and that is not the case at all. There are those different class systems, and now I think especially now, more women than ever have joined the workforce as well, and there is a different appreciation for money. Things are getting expensive, just like in one part of the world, things are getting affected here as well. Things are becoming more expensive. So people's needs have changed. Their thoughts around how they consume and buy and purchase has also definitely changed. And so this concept creates accessibility for people to buy better things, in the way they can, like with microfinancing, like Tabi and Tamara and now Amwal as well. This gives people options of buying better, and this is really what we are trying to encourage.
Yeah, I think going back to the main point, which is the difficulties that we faced, or I thought I would face.
Yeah.
Because that was really interesting. I knew that from day one, the most difficulty we're going to face is changing that mindset, that resistance on the customer's mindset, especially for women, not men. Because like, as a man, I'm used to buying secondhand watches, secondhand cars, these things, and it's just joy for us because we know we can get good deals there, as long as the quality is there on my purchase. So, but I felt for women might be more difficult, because they're not exposed to these things. And when I say they're not exposed, I'm talking about the mass, not the minority who traveled abroad, lived abroad, exposed to all of these sort of markets, I would say, or sectors. So I knew that would be very difficult, and we faced these difficulties from day one when we started to sell, and we got these customers who they did not want to disclose their names when they buy, they're selling, or even they just refuse the whole concept because it's secondhand, and secondhand has that stigma, you know what I mean? And how things changed. And this all happens with I would say, COVID. Because COVID for us was a catalyst at the end of the day. this concept, like you said, is more approved in Western culture, because in Western cultures there's a lot of factors that make people go explore these avenues or ways to shop. You know, they have taxes, they have VATs, they have inflation, you know, their economy goes up and down. But Saudi only imposed tax back in 2018 and 5%, and before you know it, back in 2020 it was raised to 15%. So I think that was a culture shock to everyone, which made everyone start to think differently, you know. And I think for us that was the catalyst to people look at their belongings as valuables, not just items sitting in the wardrobes. That number one. Number two, with the inflation creeping globally, products increasing in price, VAT is higher in Saudi. People had to be smarter how they shop, you know. And today, whether I have 10,000 or 15,000 riyal, at the end of the day, I need to be smart how I spend that money. And this is when we started to see the shift for our customers, that they're more bragging about it, that they found a good deal, and it makes me, and I'm sure it makes you happy, that people started to think differently, because as thrift shoppers, we enjoy that process, and seeing someone to enjoy that process adds a lot of joy, and it's just the things that, you know, we cry a lot about a lot of things that happen in abuse, but these things that keeps our spirits up and keeps us pushing, I would say.
Definitely. This is a question a lot of people ask us, of like, how do you work as a married couple? To me, like, honestly, it made absolute sense that we would just do this together. We're both really passionate. We always wanted to also create a business together from like when we first met. We always had these ideas, and then I think this one came along, and you've started your own business. I've started my own business as well, and we've like learned from those experiences. And I think we both brought like our strengths and weaknesses together, and we kind of complete each other, because we're really different in a lot of areas.
Yeah, 100%. I think that the balance comes from the different experiences and our strengths and weaknesses, to be honest. So we're not, I don't want to say like challenging each other on the same domain, because in each domain I know either one of us is better than the other. So we just have to, you know, follow that person's advice or recommendation, you know, how they do. But there's no such a thing as work-life balance.
No, that is a lie. There's no
if I'm being honest,
balance.
it is a struggle, a daily struggle, I would say, because, you know, when it is mixed between your personal life and your work life, that means that at work you can talk personal things, and then back home you can talk about work, and it's just that, you know, back and forth. How we make it happen, at the end of the day, we're humans. Listen, I have my ups and downs, she has her ups and downs, and the most important part is that when, you know, I know when she pushes me and when she relaxes, and vice versa, because we're humans. When she's down, I cannot push for more, you know, because we have a limited capacity as humans, and I think it's the opposite. And what I like about this partnership is honesty, you know. I can just say the truth, you know, and it's different than being with other partners.
Sometimes too honest.
But sometimes with investors and different partners, you know, you have to sugarcoat things, which does not get you what you want. But, you know, saying it straightforward, sometimes it's the hardest thing, but it's the rightest thing to say, you know, because the goal is to benefit the business, and in our case is to keep the family together.
I think as well, like, if you're an entrepreneur, being an entrepreneur is a whole lifestyle, and it's a life mission. So it consumes everything like you do, and you just, if everyone in your support system is not somehow involved in supporting that, then it's going to be very hard for you to complete that mission. And I think as a family, we just came together and we just said, this is our mission, this is what we're gonna do. And like you said, we both are like humans, we're flawed humans, we know like each other's flaws, and we know how to like support each other in those areas. When someone's having a bad day at work, because you're also, you know, seeing that, but maybe you can support it, and vice versa. I think it's just the most natural thing to do as a couple. It's a lifestyle. I think you have to get ready. It's about growth.
Unfortunately, it's not for everyone. Because we heard a lot of couples saying that they tried and it was costing them their marriage, honestly. So I think you'll just feel that. It's not an advice. It's just at the end of the day, you'll know if you can cope with that or not. And different people have different personalities, and different marriages have different needs. I think a lot of people struggle because they see it as a power sort of struggle between both couples. We see it more as, you know, completing each other. I know she's better than me in certain things, so I don't get to even, you know, challenge that area, and vice versa. So it's just a gut feeling. Don't just do it for the sake of people doing it. You'll know if it's gonna work or not.
It's really challenging to do both those together, but if you do, it's actually really magical, because there's no one I trust more, and like no one I want to win with more than like my husband, you know, my co-founder.
True. And also people think that we just jumped on AMUSED as our first idea. AMUSED was not our first idea. Like Sarah said, we always had an idea to do something together, and just like some ideas, we even drafted business plans, if you remember, and we tried to just look at finances. So it was not just let's do it and we jumped. No, we worked in small things together, see how it worked. She always had her own businesses, so I always knew how she works, how she likes to do things, and vice versa. So, but more of, I knew what I was getting myself into, not just, hey, we're married, let's start a business, let's go.
We knew each other so
you know what
well.
I mean? So yeah, these things gave us maybe more of indications further, more and more, and we understood each other. So
yeah, we've known each other for such a long time, so I think we really knew each other like so well to be able to do that. When I lived in Dubai, I decided to start my own business there. And the company I was working for in Dubai was deciding to consolidate their businesses, so they were shutting their Dubai business. And you know, I started interviewing with other companies, and I was really unhappy with the culture of a lot of these companies. And I was like talking to Mansour about it. He was like, why don't you just start your own thing? He literally had that conversation with me, and I was like, why don't I? It was such a huge like bet to take, because I had like, you know, huge rent to pay, and I was supporting myself in Dubai and everything. But he always believed in me. He gave me that belief, and when I think, you know, I felt that, it just gave me rocket fuel to be able to go out and have like this vision, to like this laser kind of focus to achieve what I did. And it's just about one person believing in you, and I think you've always believed in me, and I think that's why I've felt so strong in everything that we do together.
Yeah,
because we always have the best intentions. What was your first fashion memory, and like what was the first fashion item you remember having? You always tell me about your dad.
Yeah, that's a good question. Fashion memory, I'd again say my dad. He was always, I think, the most charismatic person. Honestly, the way he was, you know, dressed up, and I see him how he always looked good, and people compliment him, not just him. That was always my inspiration, I would say, and I think where I got the style and the taste from, you know what I mean? Obviously, my dad didn't wear streetwear, so it was more a suit and a tie and that kind of stuff, but he always had, I would say, cool combinations, you know, that he wears. that suited him. Maybe it not suit anyone else, but what's my first fashion item?
What's like a special piece that you always remember and like?
I've given me some emotions. I think it's just honestly quite difficult to think back because growing up here, we were so influenced by the Western culture and the things that we wanted to do, whether it was the baggy jeans, the baggy t-shirts, which is funny, the trend is coming back now, or the time when all these leather coats started after the Matrix. And so really people here still.
Mansour, when I first met him, Mansour had the coolest leather jacket, the D&G one. Remember?
Yeah, I still have it.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how long have you had that
I
for?
had that since I was in, I would say, grade 10 or 11. So you're talking about maybe 99, 2000.
How many years is that?
You're talking about 25 years plus, maybe.
The coolest leather jacket I remember in London.
It's just a simple black leather coat, exactly like the one in the Matrix. And I think that was the trend back then. These coats, It is a boring black leather coat. Whatever comes to your mind, it's absolutely that one. And it works. If I pull it off
boring.
until today, it's just gonna look cool because it looks vintage. So I believe, maybe that could be it. Actually, it's one of the things, the most first expensive things that I invested in.
Okay.
And it was Donna Karan at the time, where it was not D&G.
No, you have a D&G one as well.
Yeah, but I'm talking about this one specifically.
Okay.
It was not DKNY when DKNY was booming in there.
Yeah.
It is Donna Karan, which is the higher.
Yeah. Donna Karan was a vibe.
I remember at the
in
time
90s.
it was a couple of thousand reals. So I would say, yeah. How about you?
I think my first memories of fashion was like my sister had really good like taste in fashion. I remember like watching her get ready to go out. She was like 10 years older than me. I remember like watching her get ready to go out. This was like back in the like late 90s, like that cool like time in fashion. And I think now it's like coming back around now, that 90s fashion. It was so cool, like the chokers, velvet like chokers, and like these shiny like t-shirts, and it was really a vibe. And like I remember Spice Girls, it like brings you back to like a certain time in history. But I think my love for fashion really started, I used to have a textiles class at school, and we used to like cover different designers, and I was really young. I think I was like 14, and one of the first designers I remember that like I learned about was Vivienne Westwood, and she is an incredible designer because it wasn't, her clothes are amazing, absolutely gorgeous, but like I loved that she would take her brand and use it as a way to express herself. And I've really realized that's what fashion is all about. Like she would talk about politics through her clothing. She would talk about, this punk movement that was going on at the time, and empowerment for women, and like it was really cool to learn that that's what fashion was about. It was fascinating to me that clothes could deliver a certain message and a feeling, and I think I didn't see like enough representation for people like myself, and I felt like fashion can help me do that. So I just became really obsessed then,
What do you think you're still practice from these things? So what things do you actually subconsciously or consciously do like into your fashion?
Yeah,
whether
I think
you're buying
investing in good pieces, right? Like I think having less and investing in good pieces is better than just like overbuying from items that just don't have stories. And like the brands, that's why we buy from brands, because they really have these stories to tell, and really difficult to buy from like you know, fast fashion, high street even, because there is such a lack of emotional connection with these items. For me, it doesn't feel valuable to wear them. It doesn't make me feel good, if I'm really honest.
I can also, I was going to say the same thing about my dad, is like investing in good pieces, but for me, like in terms of sense of fashion, what I picked up from him is the styling, I would say. How to style things. That's something it's that I practice, because I've learned just from watching him that you know, being fashionable or wearing something that is stylish not necessarily means that is a piece, or how can I say it, like a trendy pants or a t-shirt or a shoes. It just could be something simple, and then a one standing out item that will bring in the whole style together, you know. Buying into quality stuff, I would say I've realized this in the recent years, you know, as we grow up, you start to realize, okay, buying quality over quantity is way more important. And now I understand why he had specific brands watches, why he had specific suits from specific brands, and he didn't used to buy a lot, you know. Growing up, I used to question why would he do that, not understanding, being young, maybe immature, you know, fast fashion, following trends, and I just want to look cool and blend in with my, you know, schoolmates or in university, my colleagues. But as I grew up, I started to understand that investing in these items will last. And I am a person who like to
yeah, you look after your items.
I look after my items. For example, I said that the leather jacket, I have so many things, watches, shoes. It's over 15-20 years I have them, you know. This watch, I have it since 2007, so and everything has sentimental value for me, so that's why I like to look after them, you know, because hopefully one day maybe I'll pass it to my kids, you know. So.
And can I say that the first thing I noticed about Mansour is like it was your style. Yeah. That's what it was. His style was the first thing I saw. I didn't know anything else, you know, but it was his style. And I was like, yeah.
Why do you think it's more acceptable to, you know, practice circular fashion, passing down items from your, you know, mother, sister, or grandmothers, or fathers, or brothers, than actually buying secondhand, if it's effectively almost, it is the same thing. It all falls under the same circular fashion umbrella. So what's your thoughts about that?
I think it was just here, it was like a lack of options and education around the concept, right? I think traditionally people had been recirculating their items differently, even their luxury items. I think when AMUSED came to be, it was all about creating that awareness and education for people of seeing their assets differently, seeing that this is an asset.
Yeah, I think it's the lack of awareness. Like you said, people are practicing it without even being conscious about it, because I would say the difference between passing things through your family and purchasing secondhand is that sentimental value that it has. I think that plays a big role, and maybe that will overcome the fact that this is a used item. Even when we started AMUSED, we used to say pre-loved, used, and then we wanted to see, if you remember, how we can convince the customers or make them understand the concept better, and we started to relate to circular fashion and how they borrow things or take things passing through, whether it's a wedding dress of their mother's or a ring or a piece of jewelry, etc., which is something everyone can relate to. As a man, I can say like watches from my dad, some precious stones, rings, cufflinks, and all of that stuff. So yeah, that I think that's what really helped us to connect with people and make them understand the concept quicker, I would say. And just now people started to as I said, accept the concept more, and AMUSED there is to give them the accessibility to these items, to support them to make a smarter decisions and purchases into their valuables, with the same amount that they initially wanted to spend. So I think that's for me, that's the difference between passing things through family members versus you buying a second hand. One has a lot higher sentimental value than the other.
Tell me about authenticity in AMUSED.
So in AMUSED, authenticity is a very important pillar, something that we don't, we take it very seriously, I would say, not joke around with. The difference what people don't understand with, first of all, the term pre-loved or second-hand or used. Anything that is purchased and left the showroom of that brand, even if it still has the boxes and the invoice, it's still labeled as second-hand because you haven't bought it first from the flagship store of that specific brand. So the terminology, let's make it clear, first of all. So we have a lot of second-hand items that we call it are like new, which comes with all the inclusions. It comes with the box, sometimes the invoice, the guarantee of the brand itself. But even with that, as AMUSED, we have our measures how to authenticate the items. We use a mix of AI tool to authenticate it, or we have partnerships or collaborations with experts to verify and make sure that these items are authentic before we list them into our platform, because we take this very seriously and we want to make our customer confident that what they're buying from AMUSED is authentic. 99%. Why 99%? Because there's 1% error in anything that we can do, but our guarantee, if it has been proven that this is inauthentic from an expert or the brand itself, we offer a full money refund for that item. Why do you think people should shop more from marketplaces and websites like AMUSED?
The experience that buying an item from AMUSED gives you compared to like a traditional way of shopping is just so much more fun. It's so much more rewarding. It's a better item. It's an item that will last you for a lifetime. It's a unique piece. Often the pieces are like one of one. All of these things are why AMUSED is like the best way to shop.
Yeah, I think from my perspective and point of view, I think there's a couple of factors if I look at it. First of all, like we always say, is the fun factor. It's like treasure hunting and trying to look for that good deal, The second factor, I would say, which is financially also part of the good deal, because being smart, whether I earn hundreds of thousands on an annual basis or tens of thousands, at the end of the day, we all like to own valuable items. And if with the same budget that I have to purchase a high-end luxury, I can buy 2 or 3, you'll only have that flexibility in marketplaces like AMUSED, and because you have a big variety and selection to buy the stuff that you want.
Thank you guys for listening to Mansour and I talk about Amused, all things Amused. This is something we want to continue doing on a regular basis. We want to invite more of the community to get involved in this conversation as well.
Yeah, I believe this is a wrap up. If there's more questions, please feel free to put them in the comments. If you guys have any feedback for us, that would be really helpful. Any topics, any people we'd like us to host, any information for us will be really helpful at this stage, as this is our first, and hopefully it's not going to be our last. So I think thank you for listening in, and stay tuned.